ConnectX 2019, you guys, I'm still higher than a kite. This is my Super Bowl of trade shows. Fantastic event, fantastic speakers, including, are you ready? Susan Johnson from AT&T. If you don't know who she is and what she talked about, you definitely need to stick around. Also, Adam Koeppe from Verizon, Neville Ray from T-Mobile, Marc Ganzi from Vertical Bridge, Iyad Tarazi from Federated, speakers from Microsoft, Facebook. Great event, great content. If you missed it, you guys stick around. I'm going to make you feel like you were there. Hey everybody, it's Paul Harris with Blackhawk Recruiters here in sunny California. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. As you may know, I run an executive search firm. We specialize in the telecom infrastructure space, and last week was absolutely my Super Bowl of trade shows, as I call it. ConnectX 2019. This is put on by WIA, right? Wireless Infrastructure Association, used to be called PCIA. And the X in ConnectX was, X means anything and everything. In fact, their motto was where infrastructure meets everything. So when we talk about everything, we're talking about 4G, 5G, macro, small cell, DAS, fiber, Wi-Fi, microwave, on-go, right, CBRS, in-building wireless, enterprise, data centers, edge computing is all under one place and one roof. Is a fantastic event. So here we go. Let me get to it. So this was May 20th through 23rd, Hyatt Regency in Orlando, Florida. Hyatt Regency, not tough living there, by the way. Most places I go to, trade shows, 400, 500, 700 speakers. This had, attendees had 3,000 people. So let me get to it. So Monday, you had a choice. You were going to either golf all day or you were going to study about CBRS on-go. A lot of stuff going on in the on-go space. It's going to be huge based on three things. Number one, spectrum. Number two, technology. And number three, ease of deployment. So a lot of good stuff all day Monday on-go. Monday night was the opening reception, great networking and etc. Tuesday was meat and potatoes, so let me get after it. So Jonathan Adelstein, the CEO of WIA, he gave a speech. He didn't talk a lot about technology, actually. He talked about the use cases and all the life-changing things that the people in that room are making possible. Very exciting. He talked about how Wireless Infrastructure Association, WIA, is the voice of all of us in the industry at Washington, D.C. And you guys, a whole bunch of good things. Jonathan didn't say anything good about himself, but a lot of people throughout the event said a lot of great things about Jonathan personally and what he's been doing, and also his team. So congratulations to Jonathan. So what did he talk about? Talk about 25 states have now, with their help, have passed laws to help streamline wireless infrastructure deployments. There was a lot of talk about the announcement that came just the day before the event, which was the FCC showing their support basically for the Sprint T-Mobile merger. And they, made jokes about that the timing was all due to us being there, which is not the case anyway. So that's exciting. Obviously needs to still pass the DOJ and etc. He talked about the pace of CapEx spending is increasing, and that for the 5G deployments, $275 billion will ultimately be spent on 5G deployments. Super exciting. Great job to Jonathan and his team. Keynote speaker, Neville Ray from CTO. CTO from T-Mobile. Basically, he talked about, his thing was just about how much T-Mobile is kicking butt, and they are. You guys need to flash out a bunch of statistics of what they're doing, which we'll show you on the screen here, and just that they're very confident that the merger will go through. So good job by Neville. Want to mention another speaker that is, I would call one of my perennial favorites, right? So Marc Ganzi from Vertical Bridge, Digital Bridge, his thing was called Investment Insights. And so the question, why would anybody want to listen to Marc Ganzi about investment insights? Well, I'll tell you why. And the room was packed, by the way. He runs a global investment company. They've got 10 investment platforms. They've done 150 acquisitions. They have 342,000 sites, 39 data centers, and 3,100 route miles of fiber. Maybe that's why we should listen to Marc Ganzi. So what did he talk about? He talked about, and Vertical Bridge has international stuff, domestic stuff, and he said that about 50% of their deployments are still 3G and 4G. Interesting. He estimated by 2025 that only 15% of the connections will be 5G. So what's that mean? A lot of room for us to grow in this industry over a long period of time. I'll talk about in a second. He said that in 2025, 7 billion people will have 7 trillion devices. Mind-boggling, super exciting stuff. He talked about how the 5G is a much more complicated build. There's so many more layers. He estimated it's going to be about 10 to 15 year build, where 4G was more like an 8-year build. He said M&A activity is good for net CapEx spending. I think we know what he's talking about, right? The Sprint T-Mobile merger. And then this one killed me, right? He said the sideline liquidity right now, the amount of money is staggering. And where is it going to be spent? He tells us 4 things. Number 1, in first place, fiber. Number 2, hyperscale data centers. Number 3, towers. And number 4, small cell. So Marc Ganzi sticks the landing. Once again, great job. You guys, the evening event that night, at least for me and many others, was the Music Movement benefit concert put on by Bill and Stacie D'Agostino. It was held at the world famous B.B. King's Blues Club, starring country and western star Joe Nichols. But the highlight, I think, for most of us in the room, including me, was the Wireless Infrastructure Association band. I think they called themselves the band plan or something like that. So included a bunch of people, including Jonathan Adelstein on harmonica. And you guys, actually very, very good musicians. They did a great job as always. Great entertainment, a great time. But more importantly, the money, right? Vertical Bridge sponsored the event, and they gave a $70,000 check to Music Movement. So if you guys know Vertical Bridge, very, very giving organization. So great job done by them, and great job for Bill and Stacie from Music Movement. All right, guys, the next day, Wednesday, I'm going to give you probably the most interesting event that happened. It was Jennifer Fritzsche from Wells Fargo. You know her. She interviewed Susan Johnson, who's the SVP of Global Supply Chain for AT&T. I think you know that, right? She has a $65 billion budget across 20,000 suppliers. Okay, why do we want to listen to her? Okay, I get it. And so she talked a lot about, you know what's happening, right? The tower companies and the Tier 1 wireless carriers have been button heads for quite a while. The Tier 1 wireless carriers want them to bring their prices down and their escalators and all this other stuff. But, you know, it hadn't done a lot of good so far. But anyways, listen to this. So, as you know, the tower companies make money every time AT&T touches a tower. And what she said is, and I quote, that model needs to drastically change. And she says, we are moving hard, as she put it, to a more flexible model with no surprises. You know the name. It's the high rent relocation process. So basically, you've got a tower that's got a lot of high rent on it. You build a tower right next to it, and you do away with this one, and you go to a tower that's going to cost you up to 50% less. Now, I've talked about this many times as I watch the tower guys at these different venues, and they, you know, I've alluded to it, but I've never even said the name of the companies. But she actually said the name of the companies, so if she says it, I'll get it out there. Everyone knows it already, right? We're talking about Tillman, we're talking about Unity, we're talking about City Switch, right? She said they're working with AT&T and Verizon, and they're profitable in their model, is what she said. And they are, once again, reducing rent by, in some cases, 50%. That's absolutely huge. She said they will continue the high rent relocation process, and that the big tower companies, when Jennifer Fritzsche asked her, are the big tower companies coming around? She says, yes, they're coming around. So I'm going to press pause for a second and say, you guys, the old, I don't know if the old, you know, the Tier 1 established, you know, small and large tower companies, basically, they're skeptical that this new tower model can be profitable. So time will tell. I'll talk about that in just a second. What else does Susan talk about? She said picocells, right, small cells, are where the macros were 20 years ago. So we know what happens in this movie. We've seen it before. It's great growth. She said that the industry needs to move to a more shared model for small cells. And there's a shift from large hyperscale data centers to macro data centers. And we're finding that in our world. We're getting more calls from companies like that. Jennifer asked her what the tariffs will mean to her purchasing decisions, and she said it adds a layer of complexity, shall we say. And you guys may know that AT&T has added Samsung to compete with Ericsson and Nokia as a vendor for AT&T. Last thing from her, she said that AT&T's network is at this point 65% virtualized. Very, very interesting from Susan and Jennifer. Other speakers real quickly, Dan Rabinowitz from Facebook, he talked about there's only 55% of the homes are connected to the internet and how that we need to speed up some of those rural deployments with the backhaul, either fiber, microwave, or satellite backhaul. Adam Koeppe was there, the SVP of Technology and Planning for Verizon. He gave a great speech. Iyad Tarazi was there. He from Federated Wireless, right? He's Mr. CBRS as I call him. He interviewed Tormod Larsen from ExteNet. And then I want to talk about the view from the top. So you guys normally hear me to spend a lot of time on the view from the top, which is all the tower guys. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it for a couple different reasons. One, I just covered it extensively in my South Wireless Summit review and my Wireless West review, and you know what they said. They said the same thing. The multiples have never been higher, the model is strong, and once again, they're skeptical about this new tower model, and as one of them said, when the music stops, will these guys have a chair? And there could be a shakeout within the next 5 years. So I'm not going to give quotes on who said that. I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but anyways, so that was very, very interesting. Here I want to point this one out in the tower world. So Dagan Kasavana from Phoenix Tower, they do a lot of international work, as you know, and he said that are you ready? They're still building some 2G networks in some markets. It's hard for us to fathom as we're talking about 5G and what's coming next. Some places are doing 2G deployments. Lastly, a lot of talk throughout the venue about the tight labor market, which is our world, trying to find the rock stars for these companies when everyone's employed and they're all in demand. And so we kind of do the higher level stuff. On the lower level stuff, Rick Suarez from MasTec said that he had 650 crews, but he could use 900. You guys, so all in all, fantastic event. Big congratulations to Jonathan Adelstein and his team. It was a well-organized, well-run, well-attended, great event, great speakers. I'm still higher than a kite, as you can tell. Anyways, you guys, that's it. I hope it was helpful. If you weren't there, I want to make sure you felt like you were there. As always, if you have any questions, I'm open 24 hours a day. Give us a call. Hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.